This is Larry Culpepper, and if you love college football as much as I do, enough to invent the playoff, you're welcome. Do yourself a favor and subscribe to the Championship Drive podcast in the Listen tab of your ESPN app. App is short for app.
Welcome in then to the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, Craig Burley, Ali Moreno, Brian McBride with us. And if that wasn't enough, we also welcome Gab Marcotti to the show. Let's start, shall we, at Wembley, England 2, Spain 2. It was going so well for England until the last bit.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there is always a last bit in a game.
Yes.
You know, it's like, it's called the clock. It's called the time. But no, it was it was a more than decent performance from England.
Yes.
I watched against a Spain side that was very much, a much changed Spain side.
Yeah.
But it was going ever so well. And then
the two late goals.
And it bit them on the backside at the end with 2 quality goals.
Ali, will the Spaniards mind this result? Obviously, we know the English media are going to build this up as a very positive, good result, especially when talking about the future of Gareth Southgate. From a Spanish point of view, what would they be saying?
They'll be saying that there was a nice reaction from Spain after what it was a disappointing first half. They'll be concerned that perhaps the athleticism at times of England was too much for what looks to be a midfield and a back line that seems to be getting older and older for Spain. But I also think that Spain will look at it from the perspective of, you get a goal from a guy like Isco, who's not getting a game at Real Madrid with consistency, comes in late and makes a change. That and makes a difference. That's as important for Spain.
Ryan, England are going to conquer the world now. This is it.
Oh, they drew. Have you got a sore throat, by the way?
Yeah, well,
I'm trying to get through this.
Get off.
I think both teams will be very happy.
Do you think
certainly
so?
England won't be as happy because they let the 2-goal lead slip. But the fact that they were able to press Spain, win balls in good positions, and the connections that were made between the younger players that didn't necessarily play all the time, like Vardy basically being disruptive up top, being in good spots. Of course, scores a wonderful header at the back post. Sterling looking not only more confident, but being able to change pace and connect with players in close spaces and then use that pace over speed. I think they'll take a lot away from it. The interesting part for Spain is more of the lineup they put out. It was almost like, all right, let's see who we're going to call into the next camp when it really matters.
Throw names against the wall
and see if there's people that are going to be able to fill in when we need a position that needs to be filled. So overall, I'm sure both teams would have loved to win, but they're going to come away with this with good things.
Just a friendly, though, isn't it?
Yeah, big picture doesn't mean it.
No, it's just
but it does mean something.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Don't even try and sell it.
It does.
Right?
I'm selling it.
I'm selling it. Teams. There's a good
selling it,
crowd at
and the
Wembley.
reason I'm selling it, Gab Marcotti, is because this is now surely guaranteed Gareth Southgate the job, isn't it?
Here we go.
Well, I mean, look, if you listen to the well-informed, of course, the FA planned everything out, so Southgate was going to get the job regardless of the result. We all know that, if they've been smacked around 4 or 5-0 at Wembley, they might have gone in another direction because they're all knee-jerk. But it was a good performance, and so Southgate gets to enjoy a quiet 4 or 5 months.
There you go, you see, so it does have significance.
There's about 20,000 people on the tube in London at the moment think England have won 2-0.
Yes.
Because they left early. So Gareth will get the job because that's the way it's fallen at the moment. You know, he was completely out of the picture when Sam Allardyce was there, and he reluctantly come in. He'll get the job. One thing I did notice leading up to it, and I was a bit surprised, some of the England press, not them all, some talking about, Spain, got a 35-year-old guy up front in Riz, and it was almost like, and I'm thinking, 35, yes, hell of a good player as well. And I thought they were a little bit blasé about the side that Spain were going to put out, worry more about what you're going to do. Spain will be in Russia, England will be in Russia, but we know out of those two teams, when it comes to the crunch, who performs the best, and it's not the team
on Southgate, by the way, it's almost by default that he ends up getting this position. It's not like there's a lot of people lining up and saying, hey, you know what, I'll take the job that you would actually think would be a national team manager. So it's not like there are other options out there that they could go search out for. Southgate gets it simply because there's nobody else. He's at the front of the line because it's a one-man line.
Go on, Gab.
I was just going to say, it's funny because Southgate, after their last game against Scotland, said he was going to go and he was going to reflect on the future as if there really was going to be any scenario where he would turn down the job. Several outlets are going to report tomorrow that he's actually going to be the lowest paid England manager since the 1990s. As a result of this, as a result of the fact that, yes, he's really the only candidate, but by the same token, the guy really has nowhere else to go either. So he's going to earn, I think it's just right around £2 million, which is substantially less than any of the people who came before him since Glenn Hoddle, I think.
This makes sense, doesn't it? You're not going to pay him $6 million, are you?
If someone else comes available.
Well, it just this seems to make sense all round.
It's a business decision. You could, to Gab's point, Gareth Southgate was trying to position himself as there was more options, and the FA knows darn well there isn't. So that's why you're going to get a contract that size.
Right. Okay. I'm just talking about individuals.
Only an England supporter would sit here and say this is just great all round.
What?
This just makes so much sense all round.
No, but Gab's laughing at the fact that he's going to get paid less than anyone since the 90s. So why does he deserve anything more?
I'm not saying. I don't think the money should be a factor, and this is a great deal in terms of playing wise for everybody. This is because Gareth's getting paid the lowest for the last 20 years. All of a sudden, this is some great deal for the country.
It is.
As Ali said, it's not. I mean, I think it shows. And listen, he's a very safe pair of hands.
Yes.
In terms of his politics, the way he speaks, how clean he is, how he deals with the press and the players. He's very safe from that point of view. But you're talking about a nation of 60-odd million people. You're talking about a country who have won the World Cup, albeit a long time ago. You're talking about a country that operates from the Premier League, that's the biggest spending in the world, and yet they've not done a proper due diligence here to go around the globe seeking out the top man for that job. Well, I think that tells a story.
Gab?
No, it just tells a story, Craig, that they decided that they don't. I mean, I'm going to stick up for the FA here. They don't actually think that Gareth Southgate is the best manager in the world. They think that Gareth Southgate is English, and they're correct in that because he really is English, and they've decided that they want to have an English manager. I mean, I think it's as simple as that, and Brian's perfectly right. Southgate's got nowhere else to go. They've got nobody else, so there's no reason to go and overpay him. You know, in the past, they used logic like, oh well, we're paying Sven $5 million. All right, let's get Steve McLaren, who's been about as successful at Southgate as that point, and said, well, we need to pay him $3.5 million. Otherwise, the players won't respect him. As if paying somebody a lot of money all of a sudden turns into some sort of ginger Pep Guardiola, which clearly it doesn't.
Well, you're missing the point, Gab. You're missing the point I'm making. I'm not dissecting this job by the fact of whether they pay Gareth Southgate $1 million a year or $20 million a year. My point is that this is supposed to be one of the major forces in European football, and yet they've gone out to give it to an interim manager. Is that not saying, well, we've not looked around the rest of the globe because there's no better man for the job out there than Gareth Southgate? That's my point.
No, but what I'm saying is because they want an English manager. They're saying, we're England, we have a history, we have a responsibility, let's get the best possible English guy. And if he's number 190 in the world, so be it. But at least he reflects our FA, he reflects our cultures. We're going to go and take pride in that because, you know, we're England. We're not Mozambique. You know, we invented the game. We've been doing this for 120 years. Let's sink or swim with a homegrown manager.
Our manager list is only top 10. We don't count down to 100.
It's quite sad, really, that England have gone. I mean, I'm not talking from a Scottish perspective because as a national team we're absolutely abysmal. But have you gone from an English where they should be performing better? They've gone down the England route, they've gone down the foreign route, and it's almost like, well, we're just going to go back to having an English guy because that's patriotic and that's what we do and that's what the fans want. I mean, how sad is that?
Meanwhile, Gab, let's talk about Italy against Germany, shall we? They played, of course, an international friendly that finished goalless.
Well, it was cold. The first half was kind of miserable. It was, I think, fairly under strength from both sides. Both managers trying out some youngsters, some new solutions. But business definitely picked up in the second half. Kevin Volland had a goal disallowed for Germany, which probably should have stood. And Andrea Belotti, he had a great finish, which hit the post. So I think both managers can take positives from this in terms of individuals. Did we learn anything more important about sort of any broader truth about the strength of these two teams? No, other than the fact that both have youngsters who are pushing, and Joachim Löw's version of the 3-4-3. I don't think he necessarily wants to go back to that with Hummels and Hovedis sitting so wide. That didn't really work either.
Maybe if he'd picked Giovinco, he might have been.
There you are. Star
Never.
MLS, of course.
That's what happens when you get a dinosaur in charge.
Oh.
You know what I mean? That's what happens.
Oh, okay. Right. Anything else?
Well, I can do if you want.
Well,
Here's a guy that picks Pella, who's playing in China.
Yes.
And they don't want to pick a guy who's playing in Major League Soccer who's clearly a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hypocrisy of the highest standards.
So who's the manager in Mozambique? I want to
Craig.
know that.
Yes, Gav.
Craig,
Yes.
not to go back to this, but Brazil beat Argentina, who are pretty good, and they had two guys who play in China in their starting 11.
I get that.
So it's not like everybody becomes awful when they go to China.
No, I'm sure. Well, listen, to say you're not picking somebody who's playing in Major League Soccer who's rattling the goals in, but you're picking somebody that's playing in China is hypocrisy, in my opinion.
Well,
I might be wrong, but there you go.
If it makes you feel better, given how well Belotti has played, I don't think you'll see Pele in an Italy shirt again anytime soon, if ever.
Oh, but you still picked him.
I'm going to go to break. I'm going to go.
Yes, please.
I'm going to do it. Is that
Do what
right?
you want.
Who's the coach of Mozambique?
After the break, Gab hates Mozambique.
Yeah, I know he
After
does.
the break, we'll be talking about Thomas Muller's disparaging comments about San Marino. Welcome back. Thomas Muller has upset some of the San Marino players and indeed some people in the world of football by saying this: I don't understand the point of such uneven games like this. This is, of course, off the back of the 8-0 win against San Marino. I understand that they can only defend with tough tackling, and for this reason, I wonder if there are games with unnecessary risks. He's got a point?
Well, there wasn't much risk. All they had to do was turn up.
I don't know that you read that properly.
No. Well, he was squinting at it.
Which bit didn't I...
That if these games are unnecessary.
Right, well, it's the same time. People got the context.
So the postman, the baker, the policeman, the lawyer, and whatever they are from San Marino. Do you think Thomas Muller's really worried about upsetting those?
No.
San Marino
The
postman's
postman or the
upset.
baker?
I think you can see his point in the sense that he wants to be healthy. He doesn't want to get any unnecessary injuries. I think reading through the lines.
Well, he said it.
Well, he said it. Just Dan didn't read it.
He didn't say injuries.
Risks.
Risks.
No, let's go to Gab, because Gab's... Are you going to stand up for...
Wait a second.
Oh, what, sorry.
Oh, he's not done.
Oh, I thought you were
Go
done.
ahead, Brian. Break it down, Brian. Break it down, Brian.
I think it was a long pause, Brian, that did it there.
Okay. Well, I had to answer Ellie. Anyways.
Oh, it's my fault now.
No, but there are ways that they can sort this out and make it to where not only are they these teams getting the international games they need, San Marino teams, the smaller teams, they do it in CONCACAF, where your smaller islands and your smaller countries actually have to play in to a certain level of World Cup qualifying.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about, because of these smaller islands, most of them don't necessarily play outside of their country. So they can schedule them in different parts of the season where you know that inside that country they can basically have their own international dates.
Okay.
It's a way to solve it. I can understand why you want to have these games, because for San Marino to get better, they have to play in international games.
They're not getting better. Trust me.
Everybody gets better.
No, they don't.
They just might not get as good as the other teams
They've
get better.
not really. Honestly,
So,
I played against them in the 90s.
I can understand the question, but they have to find a way to work
By
that
the way,
out.
America's going that way. You have to get your finger out as well. And you'll be in that qualification.
What's wrong with the time clip? Has it got some sort of spy camera on?
You'll be in that qualification so if Klinsmann doesn't sort it out.
Is talking about moving away from that, so we might actually be in that same scenario too.
Gab, what do you think about these comments?
Well, I do feel the need to stick up for our little brothers down in San Marino, and the reality, Craig is right. They're never going to get better because they only have 25,000 people to pick from. But you know what? I don't want to hear this whining from Thomas Muller either. Just come out and say it. Did you enjoy getting a hat trick against San Marino and padding your international stats? I imagine you did. And if you didn't enjoy it because you're worried you're going to get hurt. And by the way, I'd love somebody to add up all those games, San Marino, Andorra, Liechtenstein, over the last 20 years, and see how many people actually picked up significant injuries playing against those teams of bad players. But if you're so worried about it, hey, that's fine. Just go to Jogi Löw and say, I don't want to play against these Muppets. Put Stefan Kiesling or Kevin Volland up front, and we'll be fine. And Germany will be just fine. But the reality is, they're an FA, just like Gibraltar, just like Liechtenstein, and this qualifying works. There's no issue with it. And there's no reason not to do it. Bad teams exist. When we go in the FA Cup and we see people go in and beat up tiny sides, hey, nobody bats an eyelid. Nobody seems to mind. I don't see what the issue is here.
I think I know a man that could very well look up those stats, Gab. Just look in the mirror. You could do that for us.
Gab, I smell a column.
I could see a column.
Most definitely.
It'll be a long one.
Look, as a player, you take nothing out of it. That's the point, I think. As a player, you take nothing away from the fact you're just giving these guys a shellacking.
Right.
And you can't get up for the game because you're playing a big game against another so-called bigger country, and there's a big crowd and there's an atmosphere, and you build up to it and you're under pressure, and it sort of should bring the best out of a player. But these games are, I know from experience, are very, very difficult to get your mindset to play in. And it's no fun for these guys either, getting hammered. It can't be any fun for them. After a fourth or fifth or sixth goes in, it's no fun.
All right, guys. Well, coming up after the break, we, of course, have been talking top 100. Throughout this week, we will continue to take a look at some of the top 10 forwards and top 10 strikers, according to our list.
College football lives here.
Second and goal from just inside the 10. Little play fake. He's looking to throw. He gets drilled.
It's an SEC West showdown in Starkville, Mississippi, when Arkansas faces Mississippi State.
Flags on the play downfield. It's intercepted.
Coverage begins Saturday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPNU.
Welcome back. Frank Lampard announced he was leaving MLS yesterday. It was Steven Gerrard's turn today. He made it official that he will be leaving LA Galaxy. This is the stats during their 2 seasons here stateside. Taylor, have they been a success?
Oh, okay.
Depends on how you define success, right?
So and is it wrong for us to put them in the same box?
No, I don't think it is at all. I think the topic of discussion right now with both Lampard, Gerrard, throw Pirlo in the equation, is whether or not MLS can take off the training wheels of the league 20-plus years now and say the 35-plus-year-old European player that's at the end of his career is coming over here. So whether or not the Didier Drogbas that came over scored 11 goals in his first 13 games, everyone says Robbie Keane, but Robbie Keane came over when he was 31. He didn't come over when he was 35. When I look at Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard, I would say no, they weren't a success. It has nothing to do with their individual play, but what they brought to their team. And when you're only allowed in Major League Soccer to pay 3 players, those 2 players have to show up. Frank Lampard, we all know the controversy over the first 18 months after he signed. Yep. Is he playing? Is he playing? He's staying in Manchester City. He comes over. He's been injured. The numbers are one thing. I would look at both of them and say, no, not really.
I would look at it and evaluate it on degrees of failure. And when it comes to degrees of failure, then I think Steven Gerrard has achieved a much higher degree of failure than Frank Lampard has. I don't think Steven Gerrard was ever here with the LA Galaxy. That his mind was never here, that he never left Liverpool, and that mentally and physically he was never fully committed to be Major League Soccer. And if you're going to be a big-name player that is going to come to Major League Soccer and be successful, you have to buy in to some of the things that happen in this league. You have to buy in some of the limitations that are in Major League Soccer, some of the strengths and weaknesses of the league, but you have to be invested in what you're doing on a daily basis. I don't think Steven Gerrard was ever invested in Major League Soccer, and it showed in the way he played, and it showed in the results that he got. Steven Gerrard was a failure here in Major League Soccer. There's no question of
Are you surprised? Were you surprised?
I'm surprised that a player that is being known to have been a high-level professional for many years in a club like Liverpool that would show this level of disinterest that he showed here in Major League Soccer. I find that disrespectful.
Well, I think if you watched him at the end at Liverpool, I think, and I said yesterday's show, it's a real shame because this guy was going to Real Madrid at one point. He was one of the best in the business, but the people that sign the checks here, and they're big checks, millions
$6 million
of dollars, and Taylor just touched on it. We touched on that yesterday. Giovinco set the standard for a lot of players about coming here at the right age, with the right mindset, and if you get paid 6 million, 8 million, 10 million, whatever it is, but you're putting bums on seats and you're exciting the fans and you're delivering as he has for 2 seasons now, then that's the blueprint, not this mid-30s, might get a few goals, legs have gone, and it's 12 million for 2 years. That's just not the way to go.
But in order to make that commitment for a guy like Giovinco, then you have to go and find out a player that was not playing first-team football in Europe, that it was a fringe player, and that you're going to have to overpay for. And that may become a harder sell to the fan base. But if the guy comes in and does the things that Giovinco has done, I'm with you.
You're looking for a guy like that. It's almost like it's too easy. Sorry, Brian, when they say, who's finishing up and looking for a big contract? Schweinsteiger. Gerrard. I mean, great players. But if you go a bit deeper to somebody at Juventus like Giovinco, who's not playing,
Nicolas Ladero in Seattle's another one.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
No, that's okay. Just answering Taylor's question. To me, because I actually did come back at the age of 35, I think it's all about making sure that player is mentally committed to actually providing what he's supposed to provide. And
did you make 12 million?
No.
You have dinner tonight, then.
That's, again, that's not, for me, I wanted to be in Chicago. So instead of going to Toronto on DP money, I wanted to be in Chicago. The mindset doesn't change. I think that's the person, you have to analyze every single person that gets the opportunity that you want a part of your team. If your scouts have said, I need that player, I like that player, it better by now, to your guys' point, it better by now be he's filling a hole, and he's going to be able to do the job that he's supposed to fill. So age, whatever you're worried about, you have to worry about that first. And then, of course, come down to whether or not it's right for money, so on and so forth. I know the league's more on the money side, but to me it's about the mental, the attitude, the players coming in, can they do what they're supposed to do.
Welcome back. This week, of course, we're counting down the top 100 players. We're looking at the top 10 players in each of their positions. Here are the top 10 strikers according to those who voted on ESPN FC. Luis Suarez, Kun Agüero, Lewandowski, Griezmann and Ibrahimovic make up the top 5. Gonzalo Higuain, Thomas Muller, Aubameyang, Benzema and Diego Costa fill the top 10. Now, is this your order, Brian? Would you have gone for this?
It's
Lewandowski 3?
Because you talk about it, and so striker, if I'm looking at this, you're saying it's the number 9 position.
Exactly.
Okay.
Out and out
so
goal
it's a little bit more clear than forwards, right?
Yes.
Than one of our other lists. But, I think that the list looks pretty good. Suarez definitely number 9. Lewandowski, I might have ahead of Agüero because sometimes I could feel like Agüero is actually more of a forward than a striker. It's not that hold-up player, even though with City he normally just plays as that central guy.
Zlatan does not belong in that top 5.
No. Zlatan, the way he's playing right now, no, but over the past...
but he plays for Man United, so quite a lot of people around here have to have Man United people in.
Right.
I didn't know that was a requirement.
Abundantly obvious.
Zlatan, for example, above Higuain, above Aubameyang?
No.
Higuain started on fire this season, but hasn't been scoring goals for Argentina. Hasn't lately scored a lot of goals for Juventus.
So you'll take him. You'll take Zlatan above Higuain.
No, I'd take Zlatan. I'd probably move Zlatan below, but I'd have Higuain right where he's at.
Yeah,
probably.
Costa above Benzema.
Yeah, I'll take Diego Costa over Benzema.
Yeah.
I think Diego Costa gives you more than Karim Benzema does. Benzema is a tremendous goal scorer inside the 18-yard box, but I think the work of Diego Costa allows you to do more things in the attack.
Gab Marcotti, what do you make of our top 10 striker list?
Again, if you're talking nines, Antoine Griezmann, this is somebody who's really only ever played as a winger until this year, and he's playing it as a he plays in a 2 for Atletico Madrid, which means he does something completely different than a guy who plays on his own up front with 2 wide players. It is a bit apples and oranges. I think if you look at the characteristics of a center forward, I personally would have Higuain further up. I'd also, and I don't know a good way to do this, but if you're Aubameyang and you play for Borussia Dortmund, who create a bazillion chances and are continuously putting balls into the box, then it's a different situation than if you're somebody else who plays for, if you're say Higuain, who plays for a team where you might get fewer chances in the course of the game, and those are just tactical decisions I think that people make. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. I certainly have no problem though, just for the avoidance of doubt, at Luis Suarez at number 1. I think he is the gold standard right now.
I think if you went out and asked a lot of people today or tomorrow, who would you rather have, Ibrahimovic or Harry Kane? I don't think that's a difficult answer.
Yeah.
I'd have Harry Kane. He's not even on the list.
Yeah.
But he'll get you goals.
He will indeed.
An out-and-out striker. All the rest of the list is going to be tomorrow.
More lists.
Because I'm off tomorrow, so if you can roll them all in, then I can sit at home and I can laugh.
Tomorrow.
I can laugh at some of the names on the list.
Let's have a look at the top 10 forward list. This is a little more controversial. Messi, Ronaldo 1 and 2, Neymar in at 3, Gareth Bale at 4, Alexis Sanchez 5, Ian Robin at 6, Hazard at 7, Costa 8, Sadio Mane 9, and Roberto Firmino in at number 10.
Where's Coutinho?
Hey, college football fans, I'm Matt Schick. Injury has been added to insults for the Wolverines and Huskies. We break that down, play the what-if game, and chat with Pitt coach Pat Narduzzi on the latest Championship Drive podcast.
By popular demand, here is another top 10 list, this time centre-backs. Of course, we're doing this all week, doing the top 100 players, the top 10 in each of their respective positions. Gerard Piqué at number 1, Boateng 2, Godin 3, Bonucci 4, Ramos at 5, Hummels, Chiellini, Silva, Pepe, and Koscielny.
I have Bonucci at top. I'd have him first. If I'm going to build a team, and I'll start with my centre back, I am Bonucci.
I'd have Godin first.
Do you think we have people during international break
hello.
that sit in their underpants somewhere in a dark room and just come up with these things?
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's to provoke discussion and interest.
I mean, knowing some of our colleagues perish the thought. But,
okay.
How can we fill the top... Was it a top 100?
Yes.
Well, I mean, centre-backs have always been a struggle in recent years, haven't they?
Right, but
Stevie Nicol will be having kittens at Pepe, and Ramos been on that list.
Does Ramos deserve to be number 5?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, look, he's an international footballer.
Yes.
Of fair reputation, who's won trophies for fun. I mean, he can't be that bad. He might not be everybody's cup of tea, but he's not a bad player.
Gab, where are you on the top 10 centre-backs?
Yeah, again, I can think of a bunch of guys who I would have had on there. Alderweireld, Manolas, Koulibaly.
Are you happy that Piqué is number 1?
Some people maybe... No, for me, I think he might be top 3 or 4, but I wouldn't have him at 1. I would have had Boateng and Bonucci higher certainly than where they ended up on the list. But it's obvious. I think with centre backs, people rely more on reputation.
Yeah.
Speaking of reputation, Pepe, for example, right now doesn't start ahead of Sergio Ramos and Varane at Real Madrid. So if you're not starting for your club team, it's hard for me to make an argument that you should be in the top 10 centre backs in the world. But then again, somebody is probably giving a Lifetime Achievement Award here rather than evaluating what's going on right now.
A lot of that going on. 2 best centre-backs for me. If you're just talking about out-and-out defending, Bonucci and when fit, Chiellini.
Oh, okay. All right, then. Thank you very much, guys. There'll be more from us tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.
Really?
Welcome to Extra Time. Brian, I'm going to start with you.
Uh-oh.
Why does Bradley keep starting?
What, Bob? He'll be finishing soon if he doesn't get his finger out, Bob. Say Bob as if I know him.
Bradley's plus side is bigger than his minus side.
What side's that? Back or front?
Meaning his...
Top or bottom?
No, meaning that the mistakes he makes aren't the big ones. He's rarely out of position. Certainly gets caught with the ball a little too much at the moment. But that's why I think you need to have somebody that's able to release that pressure with the quicker passes, the shorter passes. I think right now we know how good Michael Bradley is at making longer passes.
Yep.
So as soon as ball's played into Mike, there's a player probably 10 yards away. We've seen when we have been able to get a player 5 yards close enough, they can bounce it off and then get out and use his strength. And the player you're going to put in there, I mean, who else are you going to put in there? Are you going to put in Caleb Stanko in there?
Yes.
You are. He's not playing consistently in Switzerland.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care who Caleb Stanko is.
But I mean, that's...
How dare you? How dare you?
This guy.
So,
me and Caleb are like that.
Yeah, I just think.
There must be some more players in Germany that Jurgen can get.
Oh boy.
You can find them up.
You can find them.
And you add in his leadership. I think the other part of it.
Yeah,
so.
Stanky. Not taking on the lead.
Doesn't quite have that intangible.
Next question. Why is Craig Burley so salty over Usain Bolt's potential gig as a pro soccer player?
I've answered that on Twitter.
Well, answer for here.
Well, maybe people are on Twitter.
Why am I salty?
Well, you're quite angry about it yesterday.
I'm not. It's stupid. Thinks you can pull a pair of boots on and all of a sudden be a professional footballer.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Ah.
You got to have a football brain to be able to do that.
Ah. Apparently,
but Usain's quick. Oh, well, because there's no quick players, is there?
apparently Gab wants to join in.
Oh.
I didn't even know Gab.
Is he going to play?
I didn't know Gab was still with us. Gab?
No, I was just actually going to direct a question to Craig. So,
yes.
Obviously, part of the reason he's at Borussia Dortmund is because they share the same sponsor.
Yes.
There's a club in Glasgow who also has the same sponsor.
Oh, boy.
That would be Glasgow Rangers. Do you think he might come in handy there?
But funny you should say that, Gab. I think if he is going to make the breakthrough, there is no better place to go and try than Scottish football. Because he's got half a chance there. I mean, don't go to the Bundesliga because it's not happening. I mean, come on, what a stunt. Just a stunt.
Just a stunt.
And people take it serious.
Which people? The ones behind the couch?
The ones that you know.
Oh, you people, you Usain Bolt.
Come on out.
Final tweet.
I mean, we shouldn't take social media as a guide.
No.
For sensible people's opinion. Unfortunately,
he was lovely. He was lovely when he was here.
I don't know. I was
lovely man. Final question, Brian. I think you would make a great coach for the US men's national team.
Is that my wife?
Would you ever consider it?
Is that my wife? Listen,
Wow.
I have. Listen, I would love to eventually coach.
So you're saying sack Klinsmann and you want the job?
No.
That's what I'm hearing.
I'm saying I don't want to uproot my family
Casey?
right now. So, but no, listen, that's way off.
Would you play Stanky?
The next U.S. coach needs to have plenty of experience, which I have none in the professional realm. So,
Brian, I like you're answering this seriously. I think it's good.
You're going to coach Brian, are you? I mean, in general, you're going to coach.
Eventually, maybe.
Yeah.
Would you
like
like
to
to
hurry up? You're not a spring chicken. You're getting old now. You need to hurry up.
Would you like to
No,
coach?
can't stand it.
Why?
Well, I like to play golf. No.
I'm sure you can still play golf and coach.
No. It's
no.
Nowadays.
No, look, you make a decision. My decision when I stopped. Luckily, I went into broadcasting, and that's what I'm not a fan.
Luckily, is a weird way to describe it for the rest of us.
I'm not a fan of people that keep switching back and forward.
Right.
I'm not.
Okay.
Hate the media.
Yeah.
Go into coaching. Hate the media, and then go back to the media when it suits them to get a paycheck, and then go back to coaching and slag the media off when I don't like that.
Oh. Ali,
you've made the right decision. You flourish.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Venezuela, if they came calling, asking you to coach, Ali?
Oh, I'd pay for them.
I consider it.
Yeah.
Would
there
you?
it is.
I consider
yeah?
it. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I got some anger issues to work through. But a couple of things that maybe I gotta worry about.
That brings us to the end of Extra Time. ESPN FC is back on your screens tomorrow, where of course we'll be reflecting on Costa Rica's match against the USA.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're off.
You can still reflect on it.
You reflect on it at home.
Reflect
with
all
the
you
dog.
want. I'll be golfing. Weather permitting.
Louisville heads to Houston to face a dangerous Cougar team on Thursday night.
47 yards right up the middle.
Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN and on ESPN Radio. Presented by Dr. Pepper.